So maybe just to give you a bit of the history of the IGCC. And of course, I would like to give a big thanks to the Secretariat for developing the term preference. But maybe I would like to ask for the next slides just to bring you a bit of the history of the term preference. And I understand you have seen, right, the draft. We received it beforehand. We received some of your comments, so that's good. Of course, the coalition is a multi-stakeholder platform, and we see it actually in many different sectors that the governments, in order to accelerate achieving the objectives on the mitigation, adaptation, they really would like to also work with their peers directly. And under the Global Cooling Pledge, there was initially this kind of a small group of member states was created in order to negotiate actually the text of the pledge. And then the pledge was launched, and then this the coalition contact group remained to be this smaller group of member states which existed, and eventually.
People online.
Cannot. Okay, it's better now?
Yeah.
Everybody hears me? Right. So just to say, we're speaking about the history of the Intergovernmental Committee on Cooling. We are coming from the contact group, which existed to negotiate the text of the cooling pledge, which further on remained to be a contact group for the discussion also of the implementation. There was an excellent ministerial meeting that we had last year, and then there was interest from the presidency of the COP28, which was presented at that ministerial in order to create the Intergovernmental Committee on Cooling. So, and this was agreed actually at the annual ministerial, which was last November in Baku. And then the ministerial asked the Secretariat of the Global Cooling Pledge to develop this term of reference. And our colleagues developed it, we discussed and shared with you. So the idea is right now that we would like to have maybe any of your comments, questions about this, also in person, because you received already by email. It was discussed and received by email some of the comments. So, and the idea is, of course, that this establishment and the term of reference will be already agreed at the COP30. So next slide, please. The idea will be that the Intergovernmental Committee on Cooling would be the main governance body for the implementation of the Global Cooling Pledge. It's basically expanding the existing governance structure, and what is important, what we see actually also from experience of many other bodies, that this really helps countries to develop this kind of peer learning, exchange of the best practices. And of course, track the progress, see how quickly the governments are progressing with the implementation. So we are very happy to have right now the co-chairship by the United Arab Emirates and Brazil as COP28 and COP30 presidency. And of course, going forward, the idea would be that this will be done kind of by elections by the committee itself. Next slide. Yeah. So the term of reference that you received already, so this is the structure. So it's looking into the definitions that you saw already, the documents, the mandates, the governance structure, institutional structure, review modification, working language, how the documents are organized, confidentiality and communication, extra budgetary resources. Next slide. Right, so this is kind of the main objectives and activities eventually of the committee, basically tracking the progress, sharing, facilitating the knowledge exchange, and what we see from the experience, this is definitely something which for the governments very, very useful. Sharing and exchanging the knowledge and good practices, and then discussing if there is any maybe global priorities, regional priorities, and what we see also from experience other similar committees that sometimes there is a good opportunity to hear from the countries about developing some knowledge products, guidance documents. But in terms of knowledge, of course, what is very important, and I think this is what also was in the slide today morning, is that it's very important that in terms of the knowledge base, the committee also is based on the knowledge which is produced by the Cool Coalition. So there will be very good communication and coordination between work of the committee as Intergovernmental Committee and the Cool Coalition. So, and the efficiency really coming by the fact that the Secretariat of the committee and the Cooling Pledge is the same. So by that, we really establish a very good communication and coordination between the IGCC and the Cool Coalition. Next slide. Right, so this is governance structure, as already mentioned. So now initially it's chaired by the presidency of COP28 and COP30. And then eventually after the term of reference are agreed at the ministerial meeting, which we expect to organize at COP30. Following that, the idea would be that co-chairs would be elected by the committee. And of course, the Secretariat remains with a function as it is, so which you already have experience with. And in terms of the meeting, I don't know if there's a separate slide on the meetings. So the idea is that to have one ministerial meeting and 2 technical meetings in between. Next. Yes, so this is what I already mentioned, that there would be 1 annual high-level meeting and then 2 focal meetings. So what we see, for instance, in other UNEP, in other kind of intergovernmental bodies organized, which have secretariats at UNEP, that it works quite well to have, in addition, 1 high-level meeting. For instance, 1 annual focal points meetings in person, as we have today, for instance, and then 1 meeting, for instance, online, because this also helps to kind of preserve financial resources, because also just to mention to you that, of course, for the committee, there is no funds provided by UNEP, so it's all extra budgetary activity, so therefore I think the consideration of efficiency will be very, very important. The signatories of the Global Cooling Pledge, so members of the committee, they may have their own meetings without observers, but of course, as we're trying really to make sure that we have a very good coordination between Cool Coalition as a multi-stakeholder platform and intergovernmental committee, then the observer states who are considering to join the cooling pledge, as well as some of the non-state stakeholders, will be participated as observers to the committee, and so they will be able to participate also in the meetings. So for observers to, so some of the observers will be proposed already now, but the idea would be also, the future procedure of the observers will be that they need to send a letter to the Secretariat with a proposal to become observer, and then it needs to be decided by co-chairs, or otherwise if co-chairs decide that this needs to be decided by the committee, then it can be decided by the committee. So this is kind of the structure. Next. So this is kind of the proposals, the structure, detailed structure of the meetings, the annual meeting and the biannual focal point meetings. So therefore, annual meeting really is really about decision making, about launching the key initiatives, adopting the annual progress report, agreeing on the work plan, and then in between the two focal point meetings, they're really about tracking the progress, looking to capacity building, similar to what this meeting is about. Where we have today a plenary and tomorrow we have trainings. And of course, discussion of different documentations in preparation of the annual meetings. Next slide. So what is our next step? So today really, following our kind of online communication, we would like to hear your feedback, and here is also the deadline. So by 17th of July, we would like to make sure that we receive all the feedbacks in order to reflect them. Then we would like to go on with sharing with you the revised term of reference by 10th of September. And then the expectation is that the committee will adopt the term of reference basically at its first high-level ministerial meeting. So following which, of course, then it will become operational. Next slide. Right, so maybe what wasn't on that slide also, that kind of the fundraising and ensuring the funding for committee will be very important as well, because again, just to reiterate that in order for committee to be able to function, we will need to, when we actually have the work plan of the Cool Coalition, which we'll be also using as a basis for the committee, we also need to ensure that we mobilize funds for the work of the Secretariat, because all this governance arrangement still quite resource consuming. So just, and many activities will be still kind of a factor of availability of the funds. And with this, I guess I give back to the moderators, to Graham and Hubert, to moderate the discussion.
Thanks very much, Gonara. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, colleagues and friends. Hi, I'm Graham from the UK, and we're going to spend a little bit of time next, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, really just hearing from you about the terms of reference. That sounds really exciting, doesn't it? But it will be, I promise. And to help me, we've got my partner in crime, which is Hubert.
Exactly. So
anyway.
We have been sitting for too long, and so we are going to all make sure that we are letting our mouth speak a bit. Okay, so over to you, Graham.
Yeah, so we want to encourage you to ask questions, to make comments. If you've got concerns, you should say them. And I think this is an opportunity for you to talk. And it was interesting lunchtime. I spoke to people that actually I hadn't seen here, and I'm not going to point them out, okay? But a number of them hadn't spoken, and it would be great for everyone at the end of this session, at the end of this focal point meeting, everyone to actually say something, because everyone's got something valuable to say. Sometimes it feels a little bit intimidating in a big group to say something. So don't be shy, and to encourage you to say something, and I've got this written down here, okay, so I'm sorry, I don't know who wrote it, but it says, the best question Adalberto will provide a kashasha on Copacabana Beach for. I don't know who wrote it, but I don't know, Adalberto, was that you?
It's part of the commitment from the COP30 presidency.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Okay, so anyway, I think we're just going to crack on. I'm going to hand over to Hubert, and he's going to lead the questions. So over to you.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Graham, and as rightly done by Gulnara. So thank you very much once again for taking us through what the IGCC is seeking to achieve. And I'm sure some of you got the opportunities to read the text. I'm glad Nigeria, whilst even in transit and missing her flight, was able to give us comments, from her observation of the text. So now you have the opportunity. This is something that has been put out there. We want to know from you, what are your comments? Are there things in there that actually describe what you want to achieve? Is there a common ground for all of us to have this committee, set up? And then what are some of the other contributions that you can have? So please feel free. We are just going to have an open discussion. You can raise your flag. Just give us an indication if you have any comments on the documents that was shared. I think Anya just shared a copy via email. So you have it both in French and in English. So for my French-speaking countries, please read it in French, and I'm sure you have some comments as well. So please, the floor is opened. Not too much formalities, but again, are there things in there you wish should be in the documents, which is missing? Does it reflect exactly what we are all here for? And does it actually go to the main target of implementation? So the floor is opened. Please, you can show by raising your flag if there are any contributions. I guess we are still reading, or we have done that already. Well, others are still trying to catch up in terms of reading. For those who have already done that, I think Nigeria should take advantage to reiterate some of the comments that she noticed already, because this is the best opportunity. You jumped the guns earlier by telling us what you noticed about the document. So maybe you can reiterate that so that we are all on the same page. That's fine. Okay.
And one of the reasons for the IGCC was to give more inclusivity across the whole of the Global Cooling Pledge signatories. And a question to you, for those that have read it and those that are reading it now, do you feel that this is much more inclusive than the contact group? And if so, why? And could it be more inclusive in any way? That's one question for you should think about. And what about the role of the subnationals? We've spoken quite a lot about the actual role of subnationals in actually delivering, our mayors delivering on the ground. And I can't remember the stat from Adalberto earlier on, but 80%, they control 80% or something of the energy in the world. And, so how is it sufficient, the role that we've indicated in the document? What about the role of the core coalition? And I think I think it's amazing for them to recognise the work that they do. And it's really important that we have a secretariat in here. And just be good to recognise that. Any further suggestions? Anything we're missing at all? We're trying really hard here to stimulate some discussion. It's the terms of reference, unfortunately. Any takers?
You know, Graham, I'm assuming that because the document was shared earlier, a lot of people probably believe that what is being captured seems to reflect the ideas. However, we still want to give the opportunity. And as Gulnara mentioned, we still have up to 17th, right? 17th for more comments to come in. But we need to hear one or two things. Just taking key examples from what we heard today, and also your representatives. You know, Brazil mentioned a very clear example, and we're whispering and, trying to understand whether small island states, you actually have cities that will fall in line with what Brazil is doing. You know, so that is a major concern. You know, whilst they have Sao Paulo, which is going to swallow some of the islands, in terms of your commitments and also getting your representatives, will this also capture exactly what you are looking out for? So these are some of the things that we are asking, you know, just to get a general concession that the document we are presenting is indeed reflective. And for the first time, it's not about talk show. We are really going to get a certain group that is going to implement what we seek to achieve during the pledge. So that is the whole concept about it. Graham?
Yeah, it's fine, and it's fine if you don't feel like you need to comment at this point. It's fine also, and if we can just put the timeline back onto the screen as well, that would be really helpful. And online as well. I don't know if anybody online.
Yes, I think we missed them.
We haven't asked you. I know Lily's online and Sophie Maria's
How do we
online and
identify?
Shrindi. But
Maybe they just raised their hands,
Yeah.
because we have missed them all this while. And
Yeah.
apologies to online participants. We haven't forgotten about you. And so if there are any interventions you want to make, please indicate your availability, and then you can be given the floor.
A colleague from Nigeria would like to.
Okay, so I think Nigeria wants to take the floor now. So you have it, please.
Right, thank you, Herbert. Thank you. When I went through the TOR, at the section where they talked about the voting for the presidency, like the coalition, the GCP, I think for me, we should allow the present leadership of the GCP to continue their tenure, maybe till when everything stabilizes, until when we see real result, like real-time result. Maybe if we can give it a space of maybe 3 years each, 3 years for each of the tenure for the presidency, because giving the this is just something a new. I wouldn't say is a new topic. The Montreal Protocol have been discussing this. Gigali Amendment have been discussing cooling, but now that the GCP is targeting to, 2-in-1, so I believe that the leadership should not just be voted out, and I also feel that everybody in the TOR, from the Intergovernmental, everybody should have a say in the voting process when there is a real result. Maybe let's give it a space of maybe 3 years or 4 years. Thank you.
Thanks very much. That's a really good question there, and a good challenge. And I'm just wondering, Lily, if you could just expand a little bit about you're talking about the co-chairs, I think, and the length of their tenure is not the right word, but the length of their service period. And Lily, I think it's effectively 2 years. Is that right? Because, or am I wrong?
It was for 1 year, but this is for feedback. It's open for feedback, and so it can be extended. Yeah.
But is it the past? Please go on, Ira.
Well, the usual practice would be actually 2 years, and usually, I mean, in the UN practice, basically, you would usually elect for a period of 2 years. I mean, it's just an example. You can I mean, the committee can decide the way you wish. You can decide to do for 3 years. Why not, right? But then, so in addition, you can agree to do it for 2 or 3 years, and then also it's a good idea also to discuss if you want to establish or not for how many periods you want the chairs to be possibly elected, because in some of the intergovernmental bodies, for instance, they propose to say the chairs are elected for 2 years, and then they can be re-elected up to 2 times. So therefore, one chair can be staying in a way as a chair for up to 6 years. But again, this is for you to decide, I mean for the committee to decide. So this is kind of the practice which exists. But of course you can decide also 3 years.
Yeah, okay, so thank you very much. Okay, so now the ball is rolling and we have Leslie Smith. Grenada, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hubert and a colleague from the UK for keeping us very energized in this session. So I also wanted to comment on the tenure, on the duration of the co-chairs, but I think that can be up for discussion. But I want to offer for consideration some other modalities for selecting the co-chairs. Can we consider, so as I understand it from the document, one of the co-chairs would come from the signatory countries, the other could come from the COP presidential country. If there is no, then we can go back to a signatory country. But I want to offer for consideration whether or not we would want to look at a situation where we look at economic the economic, what I want to say, whether or not we can identify a co-chair from a developing and a developed country, whether or not we can look at the UN geographic organizations and rotate it amongst the different regions. I'm saying that for the fear that we may find ourselves in a situation that we have the 2 co-chairs coming from maybe the same region, the same economic situation, and may not be able to serve the committee in the best way. So I'm just offering up those 2. There might be other formats that can be considered, but I'm looking at geographic representation and also economic, I'm still trying to find that word, but look between developed and developing countries.
Diversity, and it's a really well-made point. Thank you very much. And I'm just looking around the room. Anybody else wants to come in on that? Because, and I think it was a point that Nigeria made as well about the selection process, the voting process as well. I think there was a question about that. Anybody else would like to come in? Anyone got strong views? Don't forget.
I think Gulnara wants to come in. Yeah.
Maybe to clarify, so of course we are aiming at agreeing on discussion on the consensus, right? Whenever it's possible, but since it's a document regulating the work of the committee, there may arise the situation when we need to have voting, and this is why it was added into the term of reference. But of course, usually in the committee, we would like to not to do the voting, but to have the consensus as much as we can in decision-making of the committee, right? This is what Nigeria is reflecting to, right? And also maybe to respond also about the geographical representation. Indeed, in some of other committees, there is this item where we are saying that at least one chair has to be from a developing country. So this is also a very useful comment.
It's a really good point, and you know, perhaps we could have some wording there to say that there will be diversity in the decision making or something. I don't know, and just some general comment that maybe picks up on your point, Grenada, without potentially hamstringing us. Lily, you want to come in?
I think if I remember correctly, the criteria for selecting the chair was something that we would agree on as a group. There was like a voting that was not defined yet for the chair selection. And so that would be the moment where collectively we can have those kinds of criteria actually written in, if that's also helpful to know.
No, I think that's good feedback because Leslie is quite experienced in the Montreal Protocol circles, and you know, things like this, again, we want something that is workable.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just about having a group of people sit there at the top level and having just one way of, you know, describing issues affecting the globe. You know, once we have different perspectives, either a chair and a co-chair, I think that will be more reflective, you know, and then on rotational basis, that criteria can be set up. So thank you, Lily, for letting us know that those details will come in when the chairmanship criteria is set. Okay, so any more? We are hoping to hear some voices, at least some voices. You know, I haven't heard French much today. Togo is here. Comoros is here. Who else is here? Yeah. So maybe we would want to hear some Francophone voices. So we know that you are not left out. Okay? Any contributions? Or you want to send your comments later? You have 17th deadline. So everyone is working with the 17th deadline. Okay, yes, and we have a translator. So we want to hear the French, and then we hear the translated version as well, if possible. However, no pressure. Once we can have your comments within the 17th, that will be... Sorry?
And also, it's good just to say that it's great. And it's really good, and I really love it, and, you know, it's going to be amazing, and et cetera, et cetera. Ah, we got someone.
But, you know, they missed Morocco's voice because we heard her speak English, which she thought wasn't perfect, but it was impeccable. So maybe we want to hear French. Yes.
Okay, so Singapore has their flag up. Singapore has their flag up.
Singapore?
Singapore has their flag
sorry,
up.
I missed. Unbelievable.
No worries.
Okay, so you see, it's not my fault. It's 10. So, yes, you have, let me do it right, and then
right.
I don't repeat
Sorry,
the mistake.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, we are very supportive of the IGCC TORs. It provides a lot of clarity on the roles and responsibilities of all different stakeholders. Perhaps just one minor point to raise on clause 2.7, which covers the scope of the IGCC. There's this point about catalyzing private sector engagement and investment. So perhaps we could expand the mandate to include engagement of actors besides the private sector, like industry associations, research institutions, academia, and civil society groups. So I believe this is already our intent, but it may be useful to make it explicit and formalize it. Yeah,
Great,
that's it. Thank you.
Great. So it's good to hear the submission. Of course, there's a team that is taking notes, but would also appreciate it if you can send this also later, Lily, if that's right, also through the comment session, you know, so that we can actually capture what you intend to say. You know, it's one thing hearing you, another thing writing something different. So if you put that in writing, perhaps the team can look at it as well. So thank you very much, Singapore.
And it's a really good point to make sure that we include members-based organisations, academia, you know, these actors in the system. They're really, really valuable, and thanks very much for highlighting this.
But Graham, I think we are missing the subnationals.
We are, and
You know,
this has
we
come
seem
up
to be
a lot.
focusing so much on the focal points, but I see a lot of backbenchers there who we haven't heard their voices. Are you being left out? Or you have some contributions to make? You know, we have a lot of people from the other agencies, you know. So please, the floor is open for all of us. In case you have any suggestions, they are warmly welcome.
And
I mean, I
is
can-
Mereki still here from Italy? Okay. Please.
Okay, so now we get to hear French. Huh? Where is our translator? Are we missing her?
Chloe, or
Please, you need to be
just
closer.
just to
But
mention,
but first of all, we want to hear the French, and then you come in.
and Chloe is a member of the Cool Coalition Secretariat, but she's kindly translating, just to
Thank you
just to
very
make
much.
clear her profession.
Oh, apologies. Yes. So this is just, trying to support us. So we appreciate that, Chloe.
Oui, exactement. Merci beaucoup pour la parole donnée. En fait, j'ai juste un point que je voudrais bien qu'on rajoute ici dans le texte. Dans l'article 2.7, il y a bien sûr la mise en place des activités de sensibilisation pour encourager d'autres pays à endosser le pledge. Mais j'aimerais bien qu'on rajoute, qu'on essaye d'intégrer que l'IGCC aussi fait des sensibilisations, appuie les sensibilisations à travers les pays qui ont déjà signé. Pas seulement la sensibilisation pour que d'autres pays endossent dans le Global Pledge, mais aussi la sensibilisation au sein des pays qui sont déjà signataires, parce que vous savez que c'est une nouvelle initiative pour beaucoup de pays. Par exemple, nous, les Comores, on l'a signé peut-être il y a un an. Du coup, il n'y a pas vraiment d'activité ou une sensibilisation globale auprès de nos dirigeants et auprès de la population.
Thank you, Aisha. So Aisha would like to raise a point on Article 2.7, which says that cool champions should do advocacy and awareness initiatives towards non-pledge signatories. And she's saying that she encourages that cool champions also do it for countries that are already committed to the pledge. Because some countries have just committed and so they are still new. So she's suggesting that cool champions also have these roles to basically lead on the cooling pledge for countries that have already committed to the pledge but are new. And so they can also do some awareness activities and advocacy for these countries too, not only for non-signatories, and also for leaders and population and for decision making.
Okay.
So,
yes, so I would say merci beaucoup. Yes, so thank you very much. And that is a very important point, And for some of you who are here, these are the benefits of coming here as a focal person. And I'm sure tomorrow's session, there will be capacity building where countries will share their experience. I am looking forward to do same as Ghana, to tell our little story of what we are doing as a country. Perhaps that could motivate you, it could motivate somebody else, it could even give me better suggestions in terms of how to go about it. So advocacy, identifying champions, and I'm sure by the time we leave here, all of us should be the focal champions. And we need to get others involved because it's not just about us. If we understand ourselves and we are not able to convey the message to others, then I don't think we have really done much. So merci beaucoup once again. That is my little French I have, and I hope to learn more French.
I have a second point.
Ah, okay.
Toujours dans le 2.7, stimuler l'implication du secteur privé et favoriser les investissements pour appuyer la mise en œuvre des engagements. J'aimerais bien qu'on soit un peu précis parce que, par exemple, un pays comme la nôtre, le secteur privé n'est pas vraiment très, très développé. J'aimerais qu'on développe un peu ce point pour développer l'implication et les investissements que vous projetez de faire un peu de développement par ici, parce que vous savez, il y a beaucoup de pays que le secteur privé n'est pas vraiment engagé dans les engagements de changement climatique. J'aimerais un peu ici qu'on développe un peu.
So Aisha is saying that on Article 2.7 on IGCC's involvement on like helping the private sector and getting them involved. She thinks that we should be more specific on what we call the private sector and how to involve them, because for example in Comoros it's not really developed, so it's something that we can work on, and then we can see how IGCC can support private sector involvement.
Great. So, Graham, I think we are getting it wrapped up now because quite a number of comments coming in, and I'm glad to hear the French aspect as well. You know, that is the diversity we want to look at, and we really, really, really appreciate the initial comments. We hope that the rest can come in via email based on the timelines given, and we are looking forward to that. Graham?
I'm going to say très bien. And thanks very much for everyone's input today. And Adalberto, did you make your decision who had the best question, or was it everyone? Everyone. Okay. So everyone is invited to Copacabana Beach for Kashasha at some point. No, that's great. Thanks very much. It's been a really good session.